Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into a really fascinating book called The Price of Tomorrow by Jeff Booth, and it tackles this huge puzzle, something I bet you've thought about a lot. And that puzzle is this. Think about it. Technology is making everything insanely cheap, right? Your phone is this supercomputer in your pocket, and it costs way less than a clunky TV from the 90s. But at the same time, the things that really matter, your rent, your education, healthcare, they're just getting more and more expensive. So what gives? Why is life getting harder to afford? So if you've got this feeling that something is just off, you're not crazy. It's not in your head. What you're feeling is this giant conflict, a massive tug of war happening at the very core of our global economy. Okay, so on one side of this tug of war, you have technology. And technology is this incredible force for what's called deflation. Basically, it just makes things better and cheaper all the time. I mean, look at your smartphone. It's your camera, your GPS, your music player, your library, all for a tiny fraction of what all that stuff used to cost. That's the promise of tech, right? Getting so much more for so much less. But on the other side of that rope, you've got the system we're all living in. Our entire economic system was built for a totally different world, a world of scarcity. And this old system has one fundamental rule. Prices have to go up. It's designed for inflation. So let's pull back the curtain on this inflation machine and really look at how it works. Because, and this is the important part, it's directly affecting your money, your wealth, and your future. For decades, we've been taught that inflation is kind of good for us. It's the whole idea behind the American dream in a way. You work hard, you buy assets like a house or some stocks, and over time, they just go up in value. It's how you're supposed to build wealth. And the classic example everyone points to is housing. So Jeff Booth, the author, he tells this story about his parents. They bought their first house back in 1977 for just $69,000. You ready for this? Today, that same house is worth around $1.5 million. Now, did the house magically get 20 times better? Of course not. That massive jump in price, it's pretty much all thanks to inflation and the debt that fuels it. But, and this is the really big but, here's the catch. That growth in asset prices, it's not because we're all so much more productive. It's an illusion, really. It's been fueled by a staggering, almost unimaginable amount of global debt. We're talking $247 trillion. Just try to wrap your head around that number. And this is what leads to what the book calls a Ponzi economy. Think about it. A Ponzi scheme needs new money coming in to pay off the early investors. Well, our economy is kind of like that. It needs a constant flood of new debt just to pay the interest on the old debt and to keep up the illusion that everything is growing. So, remember that tug of war? While governments and central banks are over here literally printing money to create inflation and keep prices rising, technology is on the other side pulling with all its might in the opposite direction. It's just relentlessly driving prices down, down, down. To really get a feel for the power of technology, you've got to understand something called exponential growth. It's like that old riddle, right? Would you take $1 million right now or a single penny that doubles every single day for a month? Of course you take the penny. Because by the end of the month, that little penny turns into more than $10 million. That doubling effect, that's how technology works. And here's the key takeaway from the book. We are no longer at the beginning of that doubling. We're on day 20, day 25, where the changes start getting massive and totally unpredictable. And this exponential force, it leads to something economists call creative destruction, which sounds pretty intense, and it is. It's basically when a new, super efficient technology comes along and just vaporizes an old way of doing things. It doesn't matter how big or powerful the old companies were, they just get wiped out. I mean, look at this. This is the perfect example. Remember Blockbuster? Their greatest strength, their biggest asset, was their 9,000 stores all over the country. But then Netflix shows up, and suddenly those 9,000 stores weren't an asset anymore. They were an anchor, a massive liability, weighing the whole company down. Netflix had a better, cheaper, digital model with 0 stores, and just like that, poof, Blockbuster was gone. Creative destruction in action. Okay, so let's bring it back to that central conflict. You've got this inflationary money system desperately trying to keep prices high, and you've got this deflationary technology relentlessly pulling prices low. These two enormous forces are literally tearing our economy apart at the seams. And you want to see the result of that battle? Look at this number. It's insane. Since the year 2000, we as a planet have taken on $185 trillion in new debt. And what do we get for it? Just $46 trillion of actual growth. The math just doesn't work. Let me put that another way. We are borrowing $4 just to create $1 of growth. Think about that. It's like taking out a $4 loan to get a $1 paycheck. You don't have to be an economist to know that's a game you can't win. It's completely, totally unsustainable. And according to the book, this dangerous mismatch, this tug of war, it's the hidden reason behind so many of the problems we see all around us. Why is the cost of living skyrocketing? Why is wealth inequality getting so extreme? Why is politics so polarized and angry? It's because the system itself is cracking under this strain, and people are losing hope that it can ever work for them. So that's the problem. It's a pretty bleak picture. But what's the solution? Well, what if the solution is to just stop? If fighting this natural force of deflation is causing all these problems, what if we just let it happen? What if we embrace it? This is the book's big radical idea. Embrace deflation. We have to completely change how we think about it. It's not this scary economic monster we've been told it is. Deflation is just progress. It's getting more for less. It simply means the money in your pocket is actually worth more tomorrow than it is today, not less. What would that look like? Well, it would mean we'd have to stop trying to save this broken inflationary system with just mountains and mountains of debt. Instead, we would just let technology do its thing. Let it make things abundant, let it make things cheap, and let it make things available to everyone. And that leaves us with a really powerful final thought to chew on. For our whole lives, we've been told the goal is to fight for higher wages so we can keep up with ever-rising prices. But what if that's the wrong fight? What if the real goal should be to build a world where things are so cheap and abundant thanks to technology that you just need less? A world where you can live a rich, full life without having to earn more and more money every single year.